Dear chosen one, if you're here right now, hear this with your spirit. This moment is not random. You are drawn here by divine orchestration. Heaven wrote this encounter into your timeline long before you even knew what you carried. This is not just a video. This is a prophetic interruption, a divine wake-up call, a spiritual roar sounding across the earth to remind you that the mantle over your life is not imaginary, it is eternal. As you listen to these words, something in your soul begins to stir. Something ancient, something holy. You feel the trembling deep within your bones because your spirit recognizes the voice of the one who created you. And what he's saying now is not soft. It is not subtle. It is thunder from the throne room. Your time has come. You are never meant to blend in. You are never created to conform. You are born to disrupt darkness, to dismantle lies, to carry light into places that have forgotten what light even looks like. The enemy has tried to convince you otherwise. Life has tried to label you broken, unworthy, too much, too late. But let heaven speak louder. You are chosen. You are appointed. You are anointed by God himself for such a time as this. The battles you faced weren't meant to break you. They were meant to build you. Every betrayal, every night you wept in silence, every door that closed in your face, they were all part of heaven's hidden training ground. And now the gates of heaven are opening with a roar, and the King of Kings is calling your name. This is not a general message. This is personal. This is your commissioning. The mantle over your life is not light. It carries the weight of generations. It bears the power to shift atmospheres, to shake nations, and to pull down strongholds. Romans 8:11 declares, if the spirit of him who raised Jesus from the dead dwells in you, he who raised Christ will also give life to your mortal bodies. That is not a metaphor. That is not religious poetry. That is your reality. The same spirit that shattered the grip of death, that raised the Son of God from the tomb, now lives in you. You are not walking in human energy. You are walking in resurrection power. Every step you take carries disruption to darkness. Every word you speak echoes with the authority of the one who reigns in glory. You do not think with earthly wisdom. You have been given the mind of Christ. 1 Corinthians 2:16. That means your thoughts carry revelation, not reaction. That means your prayers are not whispers of hope, they are decrees of war. When you kneel, the heavens listen. When you speak, hell trembles. The enemy does not fear your title, your platform, or your degrees. He fears your awareness. Because once you know who you are, you become unstoppable. Let's make this real. Florence Nightingale wasn't just a nurse. She was a divine disruptor, sent with vision in a time when women were silenced. Richard Wurmbrand, tortured in a communist prison, didn't just survive, he preached with such authority that even his captors were shaken. Mary McLeod Bethune, born to former slaves, didn't wait for permission. She built legacies. These weren't just historical figures. They were anointed vessels who dared to move with God's breath in their lungs. So, what about you? How long will you pretend not to feel the fire? How long will you downplay the roar that keeps rising in your chest? You felt it your whole life, that sense that you were made for more. That whisper in the midnight hour. That ache that wouldn't let you settle. That wasn't imagination. That was the Spirit of God awakening your identity. You are never meant to walk as a shadow. You are a flame. You are fire wrapped in skin. And when you step into alignment, the atmosphere around you must adjust. The world has lied to you. Society has told you that value comes from applause, status, or comparison. The systems of this age were built to keep you distracted and dependent. But God has declared something higher. You are made in my image. Genesis 1:26 makes it clear. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion. That word, dominion, is not passive. It's not polite. It is governance, rule, authority. You are never meant to beg the earth for scraps. You were created to govern it. The fear you've carried, it's not yours. The shame you've worn like a cloak, it was never from the Father. The silence you've been living in, it's time to break it. The same spirit that hovered over the deep before creation lives in you. The same power that shut the mouths of lions now rests on your tongue. The same authority that sent prophets to confront kings and reform nations pulses in your heartbeat. You are not powerless. You are not late. You are not behind. You are appointed. So stand. Stand in truth. Stand in fire. Stand in power. Stand in the knowledge that the King of Glory has crowned you with spiritual authority. This is your reminder. This is your call. This is your unveiling. Declare this over yourself right now. I am chosen. I am ready. I will no longer live beneath my authority. I was born for such a time as this, and if this word has lit something inside you, drop a comment and declare it. I was born to walk in fire, and subscribe to Bible Peak, because this is just the beginning of your awakening. You are not average. You are not ordinary. You are chosen, chosen one. Now that the veil has been torn from your understanding, now that you no longer walk in spiritual amnesia, it's time to reclaim what has always belonged to you, your voice. Not the voice shaped by pain, not the voice buried beneath shame, but the voice that echoes heaven's authority. The voice the enemy has feared from the moment you were born. You see, the enemy's greatest attack was never against your health or your finances, it was against your voice. Because your voice, when aligned with God, carries the weight of prophetic fire. It is not a suggestion. It is not a cry for pity. It is a declaration backed by the throne of heaven. That is why silence was your greatest struggle. That is why fear lingered on your tongue. That is why shame sat like a stone in your throat. Because if you ever opened your mouth and the authority you were born to carry, systems would shift, demons would flee, territories would realign, hearts would break open under the sound of your obedience. And so the enemy fought to mute you through trauma, through rejection, through spiritual warfare cloaked in distraction. But what hell did not expect was that silence would only cause your voice to become sharper, stronger. Holy, you are never meant to speak from wounds. You were meant to speak from wisdom forged in fire. This is why God allowed the crushing. This is why he permitted the pressing, not to destroy your voice, but to purify it, because when the purified voice of a chosen one is unleashed, it carries not just sound but supernatural weight. Proverbs 18:21 reminds us plainly, death and life are in the power of the tongue. That's not poetic suggestion. That's spiritual law. Every word you speak is either releasing life or reinforcing death. Every sentence you declare is either building heaven's kingdom or strengthening the enemy's grip. There is no neutral. Language in the Spirit. So what will you speak now? You've been handed keys, Matthew 16:19, authority to bind and loose. Not with hope, with boldness. The question is no longer, will God move? The question is, will you speak as if he already has? When you declare, I am healed, healing begins to manifest. When you proclaim, I have authority, heaven sends reinforcements. When you whisper, I am chosen, the darkness remembers the scroll written with your name before the foundations of the earth. You are not born to repeat curses. You are born to reverse them. You are not born to echo fear. You are born to enforce truth. And now you will, not because you feel strong, but because the one who dwells inside you is, Romans 8:11, declares that the same Spirit who raised Christ from the dead is living in you, quickening your mortal body, sharpening your spiritual senses, and resurrecting your roar. This is why your voice must return, because God doesn't need more noise. He needs a sound, and sound doesn't just fill space. It pierces realms. Sound causes walls to fall. Like Jericho, sound causes chains to break. Like Paul and Silas, sound releases strategy. Like Gideon's trumpet, and when your voice becomes that. Sound hell will never know peace again. So open your mouth. Speak into the room until the room responds. Declare in the darkness until the darkness breaks. Prophesy in the mirror until the mirror reflects who heaven sees, because every time you speak from your new identity, you build a new reality. That's why God is restoring your roar, because the earth is groaning. Romans 8:19, for the sons and daughters of God to be revealed, and that revealing doesn't happen in silence. It happens in speech. You are made in His image, and He created by speaking. Genesis 1 does not say God thought the world into existence. It says, and God said, and there was. You are created to do the same. So stop waiting for signs when you are made to give commands. Stop waiting for confirmation when your voice is the confirmation. Stop hiding your authority in humility's disguise. God is not glorified by silence when He has handed you a sword, and that sword is your word. Hebrews 4:12 says the word of God is living, active, and sharper than any two-edged sword. But that sword does no good on a shelf. It must be spoken, declared, sent. So send your word like a weapon into your house, into your future, into the generational line. You are born to cleanse. You are not voiceless. You are not powerless. You are not invisible. You are anointed, appointed, and armed. And if that truth resonates in your spirit, say it now. I will not be silent. I will speak what heaven has spoken over me. Let it rise until every cell in your body remembers who you are. Let it shake the foundation of every false identity that tried to cling to your name. Let it wake up the angels assigned to you. Let it disturb the atmosphere that tried to stifle you, because your voice is back, and it's not soft, it's not passive, it's not trying to be accepted, it's sent, and a sent voice doesn't ask permission. It delivers heaven's decree. So rise, chosen one, rise and speak, not as one hoping to be heard, but as one backed by the full authority of heaven. The world has heard enough noise. It's time it hears the sound of the chosen one. By now, the veil has been torn, the lies exposed, and your identity revealed. You're not guessing anymore. You're not wondering if God is for you. You know it. You don't walk like a servant begging for favor. You walk like a son, like a daughter, crowned with authority from the Most High. You have crossed the line from question to command. And now, it's not about asking for your authority. It's about enforcing it. You are no longer in training. You're in territory. You're no longer preparing for battle. You are already in it. And the greatest shift happening in your spirit is not that you're becoming stronger. It's that you're realizing the strength was always there. You're not getting power. You're awakening to the power you carry. Let that sink deep. You carry keys, not metaphorical, not symbolic, real spiritual authority. When you speak, something moves. When you pray, something breaks. When you believe, something shifts. This isn't church talk. This is kingdom law. The Word said it. You are given the keys to bind and loose. That means what you allow remains. What you resist flees. What you speak is established, but here's the problem: too many chosen ones still act like renters in territory God gave them ownership of. You're not leasing breakthrough. You're not temporarily borrowing anointing. You're not renting your influence from heaven on a 30-day plan. You've been given dominion. That means the land responds to your voice. The storm recognizes your command. Demons hear your footsteps and remember the cross. This is why the enemy works overtime to keep you quiet, to distract you, to discourage you, because your silence is his strategy. He doesn't fear titles, he fears voices. He doesn't care if you sing in church, as long as you don't speak with fire when you walk out. But once you realize your words shape your world, once you rise up and declare instead of complain, once you start decreeing instead of doubting, everything starts changing. You carry spiritual legislation in your lungs. And heaven is waiting for you to use it. When Jesus walked the earth, he didn't explain his authority, he exercised it. When the wind rose, he rebuked it. When demons screamed, he cast them out. When sickness appeared, he healed with a word. And now, that same authority has been given to you. John 14:12 wasn't just inspiration, it was instruction. Whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these. Greater, not just because of miracles, but because of multiplication. Jesus was one man on earth. Now you are part of the global body, filled with the same Spirit, carrying the same power. So what are you waiting for? You have the authority. You have the fire. You have the Spirit of Christ within you. You have angels assigned to your name. You have heaven's resources at your command. You have the keys. So now what? You open every door that's been locked. You break every chain that's still clinging. You cast out every fear that tries to whisper. You rebuke every lie that dares approach your family, your calling, your destiny. This is what dominion looks like. Not arrogance, not hype, conviction. It's time to start acting like a spiritual landlord in your territory. That means every place where chaos has camped, every place where fear has lingered, every space where confusion has loitered, you evict it. Not with emotion, with authority. You speak to anxiety and say, you don't live here anymore. You speak to poverty and say, you are not my portion. You speak to sickness and say, by his stripes I am healed. You speak to generational curses and say, it ends with me. You speak to darkness and say, I walk in light, and no shadow can stay. You speak to the storm and say, peace. Be still. This is not arrogance. This is identity. You're not trying to become powerful. You are powerful because of who lives inside you. But if you don't speak, nothing shifts. God spoke the world into existence. Jesus rebuked storms with his voice. The apostles healed with their words. And you were created in that same image. That means your tongue was not made to gossip. It was made to govern. So govern. Stop allowing the enemy to build strongholds in your silence. Stop living beneath the throne you're already seated on. Ephesians 2:6 says you've been raised with Christ and seated in heavenly places. That means your spirit operates from above the warfare, not beneath it. When you pray, you don't pray from earth begging for scraps. You pray from heaven issuing commands. When you declare, you don't declare opinions. You declare kingdom law. When you walk into a room, you're not looking for peace, you bring it. When you open your mouth, you're not releasing noise. You're releasing heaven's sound. This is the shift. The world doesn't need more nice Christians. It needs more chosen ones who walk with fire, speak with boldness, and refuse to be silenced by fear. You're not on the sidelines anymore. You're not in training. You're not on hold. You're not waiting for another word. You are the word. You're the prophecy fulfilled. You're the answer to the prayers of generations. You are the voice for the voiceless. You are the breakthrough someone else has been waiting for. You are the storm the enemy hoped would never rise. So rise, speak, declare, command, cast out, rebuke, bless, shift, move, because heaven is already backing your voice, and the earth is groaning for your manifestation. You are not waiting for permission. You are enforcing what God already said. This is not your test. This is your territory, and your voice is the weapon. So now speak like one who knows you're chosen. Pray like one who knows heaven is listening, and walk like one who knows all of hell is hoping you stay silent. But you won't, because you're born to speak light into darkness. Shout freedom into bondage. Sing hope into sorrow. Declare revival into dry places, and to unleash heaven with every word that leaves your mouth. This is your moment. Enforce it. Chosen one, we've come to the final stretch of this message, but in the Spirit, it's only the beginning. Because once the truth has been received, once the fire has been rekindled, once the weight of heaven has rested on your shoulders, there is no turning back. You've been activated. And now, the question is not whether God has called you, it's whether you will respond without hesitation. You are not saved to sit in silence. You are saved to shake the systems of this world. You are not rescued to hide. You are rescued to reign. There is a roar rising inside you that cannot be explained with natural words. It's the sound of generations echoing through your DNA. It's the fire of prophets and reformers passed down through the Spirit. It's the unshakable faith of every warrior who has walked before you, now converging inside your voice, inside your feet, inside your authority. This isn't a motivational idea. It's a mantle. God is not asking for a version of you that feels perfect. He's asking for the version of you that is available. And chosen one, you are available. You've said yes in the midnight hours. You've whispered prayers when no one heard. You've carried burdens that should have crushed you. And yet, you rise not because of strength in your flesh, but because of fire in your spirit. This fire will not die down. It was never meant to. This fire is your assignment. It is your commission. It is the evidence that heaven has called your name. So now what? Now you rise. And you rise with no apology. You don't explain your fire to people still loyal to comfort. You don't downplay your anointing to make others feel at ease. You don't delay your obedience because of fear of rejection. You rise, and when you rise, you carry a generation with you, because somewhere in the shadows, someone is watching you. They don't need your perfection. They need your permission. Believe. Step out. Rise too. That's why the battle was so fierce. That's why your childhood was so attacked. That's why your name was so misunderstood. Because you are never just chosen for you. You are chosen for many. You are not just carrying a call, you are carrying a chain-breaking assignment. And every time you move in obedience, chains begin to fall. Chains from your bloodline. Chains from your neighborhood. Chains from every place the enemy tried to claim. You don't need to be loud to be dangerous. You don't need a platform to be powerful. You don't need a stage to be sovereign. You just need to move with heaven. Speak when God gives the word. Walk when the Spirit says move. Obey, even when it costs everything. Because when you do, miracles happen, mountains move, hearts shift, atmospheres bow. This is not fantasy. This is your inheritance. The Spirit of the living God did not come to visit you, He came to dwell. And now you carry a living tabernacle within you. Wherever you go, heaven goes. Wherever you pray, fire falls. Wherever you speak, chains crack. You are not random. You are ranked in the Spirit. You are not forgotten. You are favored by the Father. You are not behind. You are in sync with divine timing. So no more shrinking. And no more apologizing. And no more second guessing. You don't need more signs. You don't need another confirmation. You need conviction. You need courage and chosen one. You already have both. You've stared down demons in your private life and still worshiped. You've walked through betrayal and still forgave. You faced impossibilities and still believed. And now Heaven is saying, walk in what you've survived for. Step into the fullness. Take the territory. Command the shift. You are not coming out empty-handed. You are coming out with keys, keys to doors your bloodline was locked out of, keys to healing your community never saw, keys to visions your grandparents only prayed for. And when you open your mouth now, do it with fire. When you release your voice, do it like your words are loaded with kingdom decree, because they are. You speak now as one who knows heaven is backing you, and to every lie that still lingers, every whisper of inadequacy, every echo of fear, I command silence. The voice of the accuser has been dethroned in your life. The sound of shame has been drowned by the roar of your redemption. You are not the same. You are not the addict. You are not the orphan. You are not the failure. You are not the victim. You are blood-covered, spirit-sealed, word-equipped, faith-filled, kingdom-sent. You are the storm hell hoped would never come. You are the answer someone else prayed into the earth. You are the evidence that God still calls the unlikely, the unqualified, and the underestimated and turns them into fire. Chosen one. Now it's time to stand. Stand for truth. Stand for righteousness. Stand for the name of Jesus. Stand for those who can't yet stand for themselves. And when you stand, don't stand still. Move, march, advance, because you're not chosen to be a monument. You're chosen to be a movement. Let every step you take release the sound of freedom. Let every breath you breathe remind the enemy that you are still here and not going anywhere. And let your life from this moment forward be a sermon, one not preached with a mick, but lived with fire. This is the hour. This is the mantle. This is the moment. So rise now, not with fear, but with fire. And if you receive this final word, if something in your spirit is roaring louder than your doubts, then drop this in the comments. I will not apologize for the fire I carry. I was born to shift the earth. Subscribe to Bible Peak for more prophetic awakenings and revelations that ignite your purpose. And never forget who you are. You're chosen. You are called. You are unstoppable. And your time is now.